The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning to you here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us on a Finally Friday. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. We're talking about the earthquake from 70 years ago. We've talked about the loss of life and in agriculture, architecture, and how it changed the character of Kern County in that earthquake of 1952 and its 33 days of aftershocks. The summer of 52 brought economic consequences as well, though. 17's Robert Price has been researching the 33 days that changed Bakersfield, and he has a look.
The third largest earthquake in recorded California history, magnitude 7.3, devastated the small towns of Tehachapi and Arvin. But it was not a one-and-done affair. Seismic instability stuck around for more than a month, breaking off facades, bringing down walls, remaking brick and mortar personality. The earthquakes of 1952 also cost Kern County's two leading industries millions upon millions of dollars. Hundreds of oil wells were damaged. Some, their casings crushed, stopped producing altogether. Some started spitting out sand or salt water, although one well inexplicably doubled its output. Oil operations returned to their normal level of production in 2 or 3 weeks, however, with the Paloma refinery south of the city on Millix Road the only significant and long-lasting casualty. It lit the July 21st dawn with the orange glow of a $2 million fire, visible from the center of town 20 miles away. Far worse was the ag industry, which took nearly a decade to regain its momentum. Aqueducts throughout the county cracked and split apart, washing out rural farm roads, drying out irrigation lines, and depriving thirsty grapes and cotton of water at a crucial point in the growing season. The result was a $12 million drop in 1952 crop value from the previous year, the first such decline for Kern County agriculture since 1940. The next year saw a further decline of $24 million. In fact, crop values did not surpass the county's pre-earthquake level for 8 years. The presence of so many oil company affiliated geologists made the Tehachapi earthquake and its aftershocks the most thoroughly studied seismic incident in human history. So seismologists benefited. The Kern County economy did not. Kern County agriculture eventually became an economic behemoth, the first or second ranked county in the nation for farm revenue, depending on the year and the criteria, with $7.6 billion in commodity revenues as recently as 2020. For an 8-year stretch of the 1950s, though, it struggled, thanks to the Kern County earthquake of 1952. For KGET 17, I'm Robert Price.
And if you missed last night's showing of the earthquake special, we will be airing it again this morning at 6 a.m.
In your 17 Court Watch, convicted murderer Jamie Osuna, charged with torturing and killing his cellmate at Corcoran State Prison, will be back in court this morning. This is Osuna's first appearance in court since he fired his attorneys last month. Osuna is accused of decapitating his cellmate, 44-year-old Luis Romero, back in March 2019. At the time of Romero's death, Osuna was serving a term of life without parole for the torture slaying of Yvette Pena in Bakersfield. Last time he was in court, Osuna entered the courtroom flanked by 8 detention deputies and requested a Marston hearing, which is typically used when an attorney is providing ineffective assistance. The judge then granted Osuna's request, prompting the convicted killer to give a thumbs up to a woman in the audience.
Making headlines around the state, the murder trial in the case of missing college student Kristin Smart resumed yesterday in Monterey County. 45-year-old Paul Flores is charged with the murder and disappearance of the Cal Poly student who was last seen leaving an off-campus party in May of 1996. Flores' father, Ruben Flores, is charged as an accomplice for allegedly helping hide Smart's body, which has never been found. In addition to evidence showing that Smart's body was once buried under Ruben Flores' back porch in his Arroyo Grande home, prosecutors also say they have taped a call between Paul and his mother, Susan. In it, she reportedly encourages Paul to listen to the podcast that renewed interest in the case to see how they can poke holes in it. And making news around the country this morning, the House has passed a bill that would guarantee access to contraception. The Right to Contraception Act is one of a series of bills introduced in the wake of the Supreme Court's recent decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. It provides a federal statutory right for individuals to access and use contraceptives. It also ensures the right of healthcare professionals to provide them. 8 Republicans crossed over to vote with Democrats. That is not likely to happen in the Senate, where the measure is expected to fail.
5:08 is our time now, and you could soon help law enforcement catch hit-and-run drivers. This is through a new yellow alert system that was introduced by Fresno Assembly member Jim Patterson. The measure was signed into law earlier this week. It establishes a yellow alert notification that Caltrans would put on freeway signs after these types of crashes.
Perhaps a description of the car, maybe even a description of the driver, possibly even their license number. That all can very quickly put up on these large alert signs that we see on our freeways.
The goal here is to have law enforcement and the public looking out for these drivers as soon as possible.
Also across the state, wine and liquor lovers might have to pay a new tax, at least if a new bill signed into law. California lawmakers want a wine and liquor bottle recycling fee. It would mean paying up to an extra 10 cents when buying alcoholic beverages in stores. The bill already has nonpartisan approval in the state Senate, and industry experts say they support it too. People would be able to get that extra 10 cents back by recycling their bottles. The state legislature is still debating exactly how that would work.
Bakersfield Assemblyman Vince Falk has been spending a lot of time at the animal shelter lately, and he is once again covering adoption costs for the first 100 pets this week at the Kern County Animal Services. His 4th annual free adoption fair kicked off yesterday, continues through Saturday, helping to find loving homes for the dogs and cats who are filling up the kennels at the shelter on Fruitvale Avenue.
The shelter right now is overcrowded. It's full with dogs, cats, a couple of horses. And as someone who's adopted and has 2 rescue dogs at home, I know the importance and the love that a pet can provide. So it's truly heartwarming to see a lot of these families bring an additional family member home.
If you're looking to find your next best friend, you can stop by the shelter tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. or today from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. as well. And again, the first 100 adoptions will be free. There have been 23 adoptions so far, with more than 200 pets still at the shelter. So keep that in mind, that there are still a lot of dogs and cats. This is breaking my heart here, though, seeing these cute faces. But again, adoptions are free for the first 100 pets. There's still time.
So head out there today if you need a new family member. Country star Brett Eldridge is playing at the Dignity Health Amphitheater at the park at Riverwalk tonight. The concert starts at 8 p.m. and shortly after, a special guest Breland performs. Tickets are still available and can be bought at axs.com.
And ain't it fun? Paramore has announced their first live performances since 2018, kicking off right here in Bakersfield. The band will be playing at Mechanics Bank Theater later this year on October 2nd. And tickets go on sale at 10 a.m. on paramore.net. Again, this is happening October 2nd. 5:34 is our time now when the January 6th committee held its 8th hearing last night. This one again in prime time. It featured many new witnesses and a recounting of what President Donald Trump was doing while the Capitol was under attack. NBC's Susan McGinnis has more.
Committee will be in order.
A dramatic hearing number 8 for the January 6th committee.
You could count me among those who was hoping to see an unequivocal, strong statement clearing out the Capitol.
The panel laying out in prime time a minute-by-minute account of Donald Trump's conduct during the violent Capitol insurrection.
President Trump did not fail to act during the 187 minutes between leaving the ellipse and telling the mob to go home. He chose not to act.
We fight like hell.
From the end of Trump's speech on the ellipse to his video message to the attackers more than 3 hours later.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
The committee juxtaposing the rioters clashing with police.
Keep pushing.
We need strong, angry patriots.
Against a president doing nothing but watch it on TV, all the while ignoring pleas to call off the mob.
There needs to be a public announcement fast that they need to leave the Capitol.
Former Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Matthews testified about a Trump tweet saying that Vice President Mike Pence let him down.
January 6, 2021 was one of the darkest days in our nation's history, and President Trump was treating it as a celebratory occasion with that tweet.
Showing even a day later, Trump refusing to say the election was over.
I don't want to say the election's over. Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over.
The committee weaving a narrative it believes shows Trump's lack of action represents a dereliction of his duty as president.
For hours, Donald Trump chose not to answer the pleas from Congress.
And that he broke his oath of office.
The committee says it will hold new hearings in September to incorporate new witnesses and information and to deliver its final reports. In Washington, Susan McGinnis, NBC News.
Bakersfield Congressman Kevin McCarthy was mentioned multiple times in last night's hearing. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, who helped lead the hearing, played a clip of McCarthy's speech on the House floor a week after January 6th, in which McCarthy says Trump bore some responsibility for the attack. Another panel member, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, said McCarthy was, quote, scared on January 6th. Also, McCarthy has spoken publicly multiple times after the riot at the Capitol about a phone call he said he had with then-President Trump as the attack was starting to unfold. McCarthy said in that phone call he told then-President Trump to put something out to stop the attack. And at that time, multiple GOP colleagues said that phone call led to a shouting match between Trump and McCarthy. Specifically, Representative Jamie Butler was outspoken about it. But we heard a recording of Butler saying on this phone call, Trump told McCarthy, quote, well, Kevin, I guess these people are more concerned about the election theft than you are. We also heard a few of the tapes of McCarthy on phone calls with top GOP lawmakers in the days after the attack, where McCarthy says Trump acknowledged he bore some responsibility for what took place on January 6th.
5:37 is our time now, and funeral services for Kern County firefighter Brian Falk will be held tomorrow at 3 p.m. at Valley Bible Fellowship Church on East Brundage Lane. Those who knew Captain Falk remember him as a hard worker with a glowing smile. The Bakersfield native attended North High and Bakersfield College before becoming a probation officer and later a firefighter. Falk married his wife Jennifer in 2007 and welcomed 2 sons shortly after. In lieu of flowers, a GoFundMe account has been set up to help Falk's sons during this time. You can find a link to the fundraiser on our website, kget.com.
From our 17 News follow-up file now to the question, how did a pill containing fentanyl get into the packaging of a fast food burrito? That's what the Kern County Sheriff's Office and the Cush family of Bakersfield say they want answers to. Lori Meza with KCSO says they can only answer where the pill did not come from, thanks to video.
We do know that the pill did not come from Del Taco. We do know that the pill did not come from an employee. We have video evidence that shows the beginning and ending and giving the food to the family.
Mesa says that video is not being released to protect the integrity of Del Taco's employees as witnesses. Del Taco says it's pleased that the Kern County Sheriff's Office has confirmed their restaurant had nothing to do with this incident. Mesa goes on to say a family friend and a family member picked up the food from the drive-thru and brought it to the family before the little girl found it stuck to the outside of her burrito. KCSO says both the family member and family friend have been questioned, but they only have, quote, people of interest currently, no suspects. Mesa says no one related to the little girl is a person of interest. If you have any information about this case, you're urged to call KCSO at 861-3110, or you can remain anonymous by calling the secret witness line at 322-4040.
A group of local consumers rallied yesterday against proposed regulations they say could essentially make solar panels more expensive. A group called Save California Solar protested outside PG&E downtown Thursday morning, arguing a proposal by the California Public Utilities Commission could make it too pricey for most families to install solar.
The fee is about $300 to $700 a year for a typical solar user who's looking at it. Basically doubles the cost of going solar. So you look at the math and it wouldn't make sense to go solar in California, which is absurd.
If implemented, the CPUC would add monthly fees for solar panels on top of existing fees to utility companies to maintain the power grid.
Taking news around the state, 9 people were hurt, 2 seriously when a shuttle bus at LAX airport crashed into a pillar on the lower level of Circle Way and Centerway. About 24 people were on that shuttle when it crashed shortly before 12:30 yesterday. LAX police said in a statement the shuttle's driver miscalculated a turn before the accident. Airport officials say traffic around the terminals was impacted for about 2 hours.
The Bakersfield Police Department will hold a DUI and driver's license checkpoint later tonight. That checkpoint will be at an undisclosed location within city limits from 6:30 tonight until 2 a.m. tomorrow. The deterrent effect of DUI checkpoints is a proven resource in reducing the number of people killed and hurt in alcohol or drug-related crashes. Research shows that crashes involving an impaired driver can be reduced by up to 20% when well-publicized DUI checkpoints and proactive DUI patrols are conducted routinely. People caught driving impaired can expect the impact of a DUI arrest to include jail time, fines, fees, DUI classes, and other expenses that could exceed $10,000.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.